afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this very, very special day. My name is Dave Sleet. I'm co-founder of APA, and I'm joined by Siobhan Crosby, our CEO. Siobhan, today's introduction to the collaboration partnership with Casfu Labs is something that we've wanted to kind of bring about as quickly as possible. But how do you feel today?
Well, I'm going to be quite quiet because this is not my field, but I do want to really help people appreciate the dynamic of how this app can help people in relation to having therapy, the impact of them having therapy, the money saved on having therapy, but how it actually creates a much stronger bond between the therapist and the client without actually the therapist and the client being constantly in contact with each other. I do what this app is doing, but I do it manually. And the feedback that I've had from all the clients that I've given this to, because I check in with them regularly and ask them, what is it like that I'm asking them to do certain things between appointments, which is ultimately old school way of being, which is me. They send me a message every single day with their feeling, whatever feeling it is, just one, every single day. The impact of that and the feedback that I've received just from doing it that way, whereas yours is much more advanced than my old school way of doing it, is that they feel more confident, they feel closer to me. It gives them independence and control over the work that they're actually doing, which automatically increases their confidence organically without me actually doing anything other than asking them to send me a feeling per day. It means that they start setting reminders up to be able to do that regularly. And they actually, every ounce of feedback I've had has been, we really like doing this. And yes, it's increasing our awareness. And once obviously somebody's awareness is increased, it allows them to be more confident and take more control over their feelings so that they're not reacting to their feelings, they're responding. Now, bearing in mind, I'm doing one tiny bit of what this app does. So the app itself is going to be shared by Erica and Alban, and they're the ones that have the education, because as I repeatedly say, tech is not my field. I don't really get it. I wasn't raised in that generation, but I rely on the expertise of Alban and Erica to share what they do, how the app works, and really help people appreciate that actually it's a great idea to do this, and it's incredibly helpful. And it's also about saving money for clients. And I think this is really important because therapy in the UK, for example, can be really quite expensive. So having the opportunity to save money because their awareness is increased quicker, which means they change quicker, actually is the thing I loved about understanding from Alban initially. It was my first conversation with him specifically about how it does genuinely save money for people, and which is great.
And it is that kind of holistic approach that is really centered with this app. And but for me, seeing how a client can get the benefit of that bond really, really quickly, and the therapist and the professional is able to actually garnish so much more information, and you're not having to recap and take somebody back to something that happened during the week that they've obviously moved on from because time's moved on. And this is something that I think the professionals out there, I want to speak to you guys directly. Okay, this helps you. Okay, that's all we are looking to do. Give you a platform that helps you do what you do best, and cut out a lot of the time that is spent in that recap and trying to recapture the essence of a trigger or the impact of a trigger, because you've got the information.
It allows you to see the patterns of people's triggers very, very, very quickly. But for me, I think the attributes of doing it this way are the enhancement between the relationship of the client and the therapist, because they feel supported without you being there. And that for me, based on, like I said, the feedback of my manual way of doing it, has just been, it's just been fantastic. They start disciplining themselves more, to even set an alarm clock every single day to do what they need to do in relation to what I've asked them to do. And it's just a phenomenal way of increasing the bond, but increasing the self-awareness much quicker.
So, I mean, we could talk about this and we could go how wonderful this is, right? But that's not going to help you guys out there. What you need right now is to hear from the team behind it. You need to be able to see how this works. You need to be able to see for yourselves what Siobhan and I are really excited about.
And I do just want to add one thing, because it's amused me since the moment we've sat down, and I've got a great sense of humour. Myself and Erica did not plan on wearing the same top.
Oh, you've given it away before.
But we actually are wearing the same identical top, and that kind of emphasises the synchronicity without us ever planning this, and it really emphasises the connection between myself and Erica. And I had to laugh. We both laughed when she sat down. I went, "You've got the same top." But that's my humour coming through. These things always amuse me, but I do think it's a way of saying how synchronized we actually are based on the conversations we've had. And people don't necessarily appreciate how weird and special synchronization actually works. This is literally the perfect example of it. So I thought I wouldn't change my top, I'd leave it there. But I do want to give it over to Alban and Erica to really explain what they do, because they'll explain it a hell of a lot better than myself and David would any day of the week. So feel free to take us away with educating us about the app, what it does and how it functions and how it helps. The platform's yours.
Great, thank you so much, Siobhan and Dave. I mean, it was truly meant to be with the shirts and with this collaboration. Thank you for that great introduction. I think I'll just jump right into it. Let me share my screen. Can you see it?
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay, maybe that's why I also. Well, yeah. I mean, let me just start. Hi everyone, my name is Erica. I'm here today joined by my wonderful colleague Alban to tell you a little bit about Mind. As soon as we can get the wait. This is really weird. Now I can't get the. Oh.
There we go.
Yes. Perfect. Just how I planned it. All right. So. I'm the product head of Mind, and myself, I have a little bit of background in psychology and user-centered design. Maybe Alban, you want to say a few words about yourself before we go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for having us today. So yeah, I'm in charge of like the business development side of Mind. So at the moment we're looking for pilots and so on. And my background is in is very versatile in a lot of different industries, but I've been creating a lot of different businesses and running them for a few years before moving on to the next project. So now I'm working with Erica on Mind. And to be honest, I never thought I would be passionate about mental health, and I became like very, very passionate very quickly by working with Erica and the Mind team on the product.
Thanks so much, Alban. I see I'm also wearing the same shirt in this picture. So it is now a triple threat, truly. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to tell you what Mind is, how it works, how it can help you. Then we're going to take a closer look at the product, create a therapist profile, just see all the little features in there. And then in the end, we can do questions and answers, or you can interrupt me at any time. Great. Yeah, all right, so what is Mind? Mind is a software tool that allows you to see how your client's been doing in, between your sessions, since your last session, in the past week, in the past month. You can browse Mind before a session or between sessions, and it gives you a comprehensive picture of what's been happening since you last talked with your client. Mind also summarizes your client's emotions, symptoms, and journal entries to be really easily and quickly digestible. And and you can support and motivate your clients to maintain the therapeutic relationship with minimal effort, but with a huge impact to your clients. Alban, take it away.
Yeah. All right. So this is a very simple view of the applications that the clients can interact with. So the log logic behind mine is first you identify your feeling, you say how you're feeling. If you have any emotional symptoms, that's great to have. Then you can write a journal entry and add a picture. So the log logic is very straightforward. It's always about what emotions, how you feel, and so on. And then you can log as many times as you want during the day, which keeps tracks. And for the record, we're working on a massive improvement of this app. So the clients over the pilot time will have an upgrade in the experience, going from 6 feelings to 155, 156. So there is a lot of things coming up. And then you can review how your emotion is going over time. So you can look at your patterns, you can look at your triggers, you can identify if you always experience the same symptoms, physical symptoms when you have an emotion, and so on. So the point is really for you to grasp the way you're feeling and the way you're reacting to things, and so on. And then all this data is given to your psychologist, and that's the next slide.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So who is it for? It's for the therapy clients, like we said. So we just looked at the view, and all the data that you're gathering, like Shivan was mentioning earlier. She loves to work with her clients on emotions and finding out how it works. So all the data is transferred to the therapist, and the therapist can view very quickly within 10 minutes how the client has been doing over the week, feeling the connection and feeling looking at the emotions, looking at the very low, and if the client is willing to share the journal entry, what happened for it to be very low. So yeah, all those things are transferred to the therapist, but Erica will go deeper into what the therapist can do and how they can interact. And another thing we wanted to point out, because mental health is a very, very important topic and something that people don't really want to share and don't really want to have out there in the world, we are working very hard on security. Security is probably one of the biggest development points that we are always arguing about inside the team. How to make the app more secured, how to make sure that the data stays there, how to make sure that the therapist and the clients are only sharing what's relevant to them, and how can we minimize the impact of what we process and what the app is processing every day. So we are compliant to GDPR. We have a very we are above GDPR, to be honest. We're trying to match everything that we can find to make it more secure. We try to implement it as soon as possible. So that's one thing we really wanted to emphasize before going into the product and before going into any further. Security is our main issue and our main focus, and we are gonna keep all your data safe, and nobody is gonna access this apart from you and your therapist.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Alban. It's true, security is one of the central points that has been with us through the whole journey, and you can read more about it. We fulfilled this American Psychiatric Association app evaluation model, which basically asked a bunch of questions about security, which we have answered, so you can get some peace of mind and hopefully a lot of answers for security questions that can be found on our website, mind.health. All right, so how can Mind help you? Well, you can easily check your clients, what's been happening with your clients since your last session. It helps you connect with your clients more deeply and meaningfully, and in that way foster a more engaging and immersive therapy experience. It motivates your clients to have more actively work on their therapy journey, to facilitate their progress. And our previous pilot clients have said that they indeed have felt way more supported by their therapist because they know that there is someone out there who can read their journal entries and who can read their emotion logs. All right, So let's take a look at the website. First of all, it's going to look like this. So you have option to log in or sign up. And when you click on sign up, you can sign up with Google or create your own profile with just your email address and the password. Now let's move on to the actual product and let's see if this screen sharing is going to work. All right, do you see what I see right now? Billowing Meadow 160. Great.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, so first of all, we can take a look at your profile. So you can fill in your first name and last name, and this is going to be important for when you're inviting your clients to use Mind, because that will show in the invitation email, you know, your name, who is inviting you to use Mind. Obviously, as for your email, title, training, etc. Right now, I don't think they are actually customer facing in the app, but you know, in the coming weeks, they're going to be there. But the most important thing is the name and the email. I should say, when you're creating the profile right now, it goes to pending, and that's why that's because we don't want, or we thought as a security measure so that not everyone can just log on to Mind. They have to actually be an actual therapist. But you know, all those requests will be handled within 1 working day. So yeah, don't worry about that too much. All right. So how can you actually invite your clients to connect? Let's click on here on the left on users. So, oh, sorry, connect. Well, here you can see your clients. Okay, let's click on connect. So here you can see the invitation email address field. So when you input your email here, then clicking on send will then send this client an email to this address. If you want to see what the invitation looks like, you can type your own email address and press send. It will just invite yourself to the app, which you can always also do. I am also going to connect with myself right now. Here on the bottom, you can see the status of all your invitations, and you know, there's the info box. But basically, because of privacy reasons, the invitations will expire after 7 days and will be permanently deleted after 30 days. If your invitation expires, you can always resend it, and it spins it right up to 7 days again. So you can see which email addresses you've sent the invitation to, when it's going to expire, and what the status is. So let's send myself an invitation. It's going to take a few seconds, but what's going to happen is that I'm going to receive an email to my inbox, and it's going to say that I've invited myself to connect with myself on Mind. And when you download the app, then when you download the app, it's going to ask if you want to connect. And now that I've opened the app, it spins this little button, and then it says Mind team has invited you to connect. By accepting the invitation, you agree that your therapist can view your journal entries. It makes it clear what they can see, what they can't, and where can more information be found. You can either accept or decline it. You can still use the app if you decline it, but obviously when your client accepts the invitation to connect, then you can see all of their stuff. So here you can see on the bottom, it has updated to waiting for response. And now that I'm going to accept it, in a few seconds time, it will move to accepted, and I will see myself in the client's view. And then we can take a closer look at what I've been saying for the past few months. All right, so now it says accepted, and you will get, as the therapist, an email saying your invitation to connect with this and this person has been accepted, and a little bit more information as well. So you will always know when someone has accepted or declined your invitation to connect. All right. So let's click on users, and let me refresh the page, and then I should be able to see myself. By the way, there's this feedback sending form here on the left. Actually, if you have any issues, any feedback for us, describe your feedback. We can get back to you, or you can stay anonymous if you want. And yeah, we'll hope to fix whatever issue you've been having as soon as possible. All right, so my team, and you can see already the red dot, so you can see that there's some new activity there. All right, so here is the main profile view. Here on the left, you can open and close the journal entries. You can see what my fictional person has journaled and what their physical symptom has been for that journal entry. Also on the right, you can see these emotion tags. Those are actually our AI model analyzes all journal entries and then spins up the primary emotion that has been presented in that journal entry. Sometimes there is no tag if it's really short or it cannot identify anything, but sometimes, yeah, it has the 4 emotions here are joy, fear, sadness, and anger, if I remember correctly. But they are just to kind of help you to see, you know, what's being said right now. And then here on the right, let me move the Zoom box a little bit to the left. All right, so here on the right, you can see the emotion graph. Here are 6 emotions that were logged in the app. So you have anxiousness, happiness, energy, irritation, passion, and confidence. You can click on them as you wish, cross-reference them. You can view the last 30 days. You can view the last 90 days. You can also enlarge the screen if you want to, if you need more space to kind of cross-reference all of these. So if we look at maybe 90 days, then we look at confidence, anxiousness and happiness, for example, you see that here confidence has been pretty neutral, but anxiousness and happiness have both been low. Maybe you want to see what's going on there, so you can click just there. It will open the relevant journal entry. If you want to see maybe here, it's been high anxiousness, low happiness, click on there. It opens the relevant journal entry, so you can just really look at these different time points to see, okay, what's been happening? Are there, you know, similar emotion tags, for example, fear or sadness, you know, similar physical symptoms, or, you know, just any sorts of patterns that you can also see here. So that is the diary view. Then we can look at messages. Right now, you can see all my different nice testing messages that I've sent myself. You can send any message, you can save it, send it. Right now, we're actually working on, I think maybe already when the pilot starts, we should already have implemented the replying function as well. This is kind of a relic from the old version of the app, that the messages only went one way, but now we're going to implement a chat function. The first message, by the way, always takes, for some reason, a few seconds to send, but then when you send another one, it works way faster. All right, then we have the homework function. So here you can see that there are some new entries. So basically, you can assign homework to your client. You can add a link to, you know, relevant websites or whatever content you want. You can add an image. You can, yeah, basically just, you can save it, in which case it saves it as a draft and you can send it later, or you can just send it right away and your client will get a notification in their app that they have received a message from you or homework from you or a feedback request from you. And then when you go and view the homeworks that you have sent, you can see the answers that you've received, and also the little tick box over here tells you that the client has marked this homework as completed. If they're still working on it, it might be empty, but if they think that they've completed the homework and they have nothing else to add, they can tick in the app that they have completed it. Then we have the feedback tab, where you can send feedback requests. You can also save templates, and then you will see what your client has said. So maybe you can add like a ceiling term question here, and then an elaborative question. For example, in my template, I ask, what did you think of the session? And then question 1 is, what did you think of the tone of the session or the topics? You can select whether your client can give an open text box answer or just thumbs up or down if that's easier. You can add as many questions as you want, also delete them. You can save them as a template, or you can just save them as a draft and then send. in the save templates, I have the what do you think of the session, topics discussed, thumbs up or down, and what topics would you want to discuss. When your client has answered it, you can see this little tick box here again. Like Alban said, we're doing a huge visual overhaul, so everything's going to become clearer and easier to read. This is really just the first version that we developed when one of our psychologists actually requested to use this with their clients, and we just started coding it immediately, like with super speed. But now we're designing a more legible version. But in any case, now you can see here, thumbs up. What topics would you want to discuss? Maybe you would want to discuss work, or you would like to focus on school next time. Maybe talk about relationships or something. Yeah, basically you can ask anything of your clients' feedback and they can vote in the app. All right, then we have, and now I have to say a word of warning. The timeline is a bit of a work in progress at the moment. As you can see, it is literally just blue boxes. So on the right is everything you have said, and on the left is everything your client has said. But as I said, we're going to make this a little bit more legible and actually differentiate between the different modes of input, like what is a journal entry, what is a feedback request, what is your feedback response, all of these things. But for now, I mean, all the content is there, you can read it, but obviously it's not super pretty. And then I'm actually very excited to show you our newest edition from this week, which is the analytics tab. And I'm so excited to show you this, guys. So here we have 3 different tabs within tabs, which is heat map, summary, and correlations. And let me tell you, our data scientist has had the time of her life coding this the past few weeks. She's been so excited to do this. So let's start with the heat map. So we have 4 different heat maps. They all show you the last year, basically. So here you have number of journal entries, or actually more accurately, number of logs. So you can see what days your client has logged. So for example, in August, there have been 8 logs. Oh, there's 2 Augusts, but you can just, so you can see every day when there has been a log made. There's apparently 1 day here last year that there's been 2 logs. So, you know, it adjusts according to how many logs per day. If you have a client who's logged 10 times a day, it will be from 1 to 10, basically the legend here at the bottom. You can also view the strength of emotion. So here you have the 6 emotions. Later, there's going to be more. The 6 emotions that are logged right now, which is anxiousness, happiness, energy, irritation, passion, and confidence. They range from -0.5 to +0.5. So for example, the blue ones here are very low anxiousness, and the orange ones are high anxiousness. You can also see the actual score. So for example, on June 11th, I've had 0.38 anxiousness, which is moderately anxious. You can also see the same for happiness, energy, all of these things. So you can see how they change and how your client has been doing in the past year. Also, we have the strongest emotion. So again, all of the 6 emotions and their other sides. So anxiousness, calmness, happiness, sadness. In all of the graphs, the first 2 are always clicked just to show you that you can view several at the time. I mean, you can click all of them if you want. You can click on anything you want and cross-reference, and you will always see what the strongest logged emotion for that day has been. So when you have the sliders, you can see what the strongest emotion for this has been. Then the last one is physical symptoms, and you can just see all of the logged physical symptoms and which days they have occurred. Then we have the summary view, which is a lot of information to take in at once, and surely something that will also be included in the individual overview. But you can cross-reference the last. You can look at the 7 days, 30 days, again 90 days, all-time logs. For example, if we look at the 90 days, you can see that there have been 29 logs, which has been a massive increase from the previous 90 days. I have apparently not logged more than once every day because it's also 29 days for the second one. And my average diary length has been 34 words. My average emotion sliders are here. obviously, because we're looking at 90 days, it tends to average out. If you look at 30 days, they move a little bit. 7 days, they're already a little bit more towards the outside. And then symptoms: 8 times headache in the last 90 days, 8 times fatigue, 3 times insomnia, all the symptoms that have been logged and how many times they have been logged, and the classifier total, which I have received 8 joy labels, 5 fear labels, and 2 sadness labels. At the end here at the bottom, you can see all the homeworks that you have assigned and when they have been answered. So you can just, again, click on and off. So maybe homework has been assigned here on June 5th, and 2 homework answers have been received on June 10th. Feedback has been requested August 9th and answered today, the 24th of August. And it will also show you just like how many homeworks and feedbacks there are in total being requested in the last 9 days. And lastly, we have a very nice correlation table. So basically, you can cross-reference anything. You can cross-reference everything, all the content that you could possibly get in the app so far. But let's narrow this down a little bit. So let's do maybe, what would be good? Let's do fear. And what else have I looked to be a nice example? We can do passion, happiness. Let's take those off. No, I like the image actually. And then for symptoms, let's do fatigue. So here you can see that confidence and happiness, for example, have correlated positively, moderately positively, as well as confidence and passion, also quite strongly. Furthermore, energy and fatigue have had a negative correlation. So the more energy you have, the less fatigued you have been, clearly. Same with fear and confidence. The more confident you have been, the less anxiousness you have experienced. But you can play around with it. You can click on any of the symptoms or emotions or whatever you wish and just see what has been correlating with what. Just explore, find new correlations, find new connections. I think that's most of it actually from me. Then, I mean, lastly, we have to disconnect from user content, but that's pretty obvious. You disconnected and you're no longer connected. Do you have any questions at this point?
Erica, I've been sitting, this is the first time I've really got a grip with what the actual app does. And I'm picking up something incredibly significant, which I didn't really appreciate before. Now, sometimes when I've worked with a client that's got a health issue, so they're not aware that actually their emotions have been affected by a health issue, picking up the patterns like fatigue, which is incredibly important to recognize. Fatigue can be attached to numerous medical conditions, whereas somebody might be coming to therapy thinking that it's an emotional difficulty, but actually it can be a physical one. So as I was actually listening to you and watching how the app played out, my real initial thought was, this is fantastic to be able to appreciate when medical situations arise as well, because obviously it's important to, if I think about fatigue and if I think about high blood pressure and low blood pressure, they can actually create real physical responses and emotional responses in the individual. Writing out what the journaling is giving and what the app does and putting the information into it actually can highlight a real medical problem that you're not even aware of. That's affecting you emotionally. So that really hit me a bit like a ton of bricks, because if I'd have, and the reason I'm saying this to you is because, and I'm introducing this very much on purpose, if way back in 2017 and 18, just before I was diagnosed with cancer, one of my biggest issues was fatigue and not understanding that fatigue was a part of cancer. I
Right.
hadn't even looked into it. But if I'd have been recording and utilizing your app, there's a very good chance I would have recognized the implications and the patterns of that fatigue, and actually maybe even ended up in front of my doctor a lot quicker. So I know that you're doing this from a mental health perspective, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. You already know what I think of how phenomenal these journalings and putting in the data into it, and how you can pick up on it as the therapist and work with the client. But it also hit me the power of understanding medical problems as well, because I've worked with enough people that have sat in front of me, felt not quite right, but thought it was an emotional difficulty,
Right.
and then
Right.
discovered that it's actually a medical problem that's affecting them.
Yeah.
So it really did hit me like a ton of bricks, because I thought, my God, this is not just useful for a mental health approach. Having a client come to you with what they think is a problem that's emotional, but could actually be affected very seriously by a medical condition. This gives
Absolutely.
you the patterns. It literally shows the evidence of how somebody is performing and what they're feeling and what they're thinking. So I'm really glad that you have fatigue in there, because fatigue is one of the biggest issues around a medical problem. So
Yeah.
forgive my surprise, it's almost hitting me in a bigger way, the impact
Right.
of not just helping clients therapeutically, but this could actually be life-saving on a physical
Yeah.
basis as well as an emotional one. So thank you, because you really showed that if therapists incorporated this into the practice, they don't have to be a doctor to be able to recognize that fatigue is a big problem in relation to a medical situation. They'll be
Yeah.
smart enough to be able to recommend going to a doctor and getting checked
Yeah.
out, because I do that with my own clients. If I think that there's a medical issue based on what they're telling me, it's the one time I actually state to any client in front of me, please go and make an appointment with your GP, because you could spend weeks of money trying to resolve this, and I'm concerned that it might be a medical problem. But having the data, they could actually bring this to a doctor. It's just really walloping me the significance and the seriousness and the impact on a client.
The potential is huge.
It's phenomenal.
And I think putting that information at the hands of a client so that they can make informed awareness about themselves, their own interactions, but also empowering the professional to be able to identify those patterns, to be able to very, very quickly put the right support path in place. And as Ronnie says, if that's a case of recommendation for additional investigation, then it's there. You've got that information. And it's very hard then for a medical professional to ignore the evidence from that data. So, you know, there's a huge amount of information to unpack, and it's a lot that for many professionals watching this, I suppose there is going to be a sense of almost overwhelm at how much information can be obtained.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about, by the way.
And yeah, and I was about to bring you in, Alban. The sheer switch to having that amount of data must have come up in the conversations that you guys have had in the development of this. And as we kind of come into open conversation, if we can kind of come back into the room and end the screen share, then there we go. The conversation around overwhelm must be, as I say, it must be something that you guys have come across already.
Yeah, I wanted to bridge to something that Van was saying. So like, of course, the overwhelming aspect is important, but you were talking about like the finding the pattern and so on, and this is what it's about. Like we give you a lot of data as a professional, And of course, you're not gonna look at every journal entry. You're not gonna look at every emotion. You're gonna look at the patterns and identify like what's going on. On Erica's dummy profile, it's hard to find patterns because it's made just to give an example. But if you could see very quickly on the heat map that every Tuesday she was feeling anxious. And so like it's something like what's happening on Tuesday. And as a therapist, you will be like, okay, so every Tuesday you're anxious. Are you going to school every Tuesday? Are you meeting with someone specific on Tuesdays? Are you having like why is it so much anxiety? But you don't need to look at all the journal entry. You don't need to look at anything. You can just look at the data. It takes you 2 minutes to look at the report, overall report for the week. And then you already know like, okay, I have questions about this, and this because I can see the patterns coming back. Or I can dig in myself if I need to. And that's why like we have so much data. So of course it's overwhelming. But after playing with it like with 2 clients and trying to dig as much as you want, then you will realize, okay, this is what I need to do, or this is what I want to use as myself as a professional. And none of the professionals we've been working with has been using it the same way. So it's everybody can adapt to their clients and to their needs. So yeah, I think it's a matter of like playing around a little bit with it to get familiar with it, and then identifying what is helping you to save time and money, and helping you like to help the patients the clients in a more effective way. I think that's what's very important, and that's what Mind is trying to do. And again, Erica emphasized on it many times. It's gonna be a lot clearer in the coming weeks. It's gonna be a lot more user friendly.
And we're
And I
also
think it's
adding
worth pointing-
more. We're adding more physical symptoms as well, because obviously now it's very limited, and we're going to make build a function where the clients can actually just add something themselves if they don't find it in the app, and then they can keep logging that, because obviously everybody is different. Everybody has different symptoms, and they experience it differently and different intensities. So that's something that we really want to also add.
And one of the things I wanted to pick up on is one of the very first things that Erica mentioned. This is a tool. It's there to be used in the way that it works for you as a professional.
Exactly.
So you
exactly.
can support your client. It's there. The other thing that I wanted to pick up and make sure that people were kind of not lost on is this isn't an open platform. This isn't something that anybody can tap into. Any professional that wants to get involved with this, they will go through professional screening before they can start applying this process with their clients. And it's vital because the understanding that professionals like Von and those that work in the field with an ethical framework behind them, they will use this app in a very different way to someone who doesn't have that know-how. And it's vital for the protection of the client that ethical use is in play. And APA is absolutely steadfast in ensuring that screening process is done accurately. And if that takes time, that takes time. But it's for the safety of the client as well as the professional, and that has to be put into the mix. Bon.
Well, I'd just like to say, I think because I have come across multiple situations where I think it's the medical side that's really impacting on me, because I'm fully aware of the emotional impact of doing this. And I'm fully aware of how I work with my own clients and give them the work between appointments and what that does for them and how it impacts on them. So I know that this is a phenomenal app, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, even females that go through the menopause, when you look at the temperatures of females and how their bodies start reacting to things like that and how it impacts on them emotionally, the data that you're creating through the clients that input their information, I think is absolutely mind-blowing. And I think the power of that, when I just consider how important it is for people to be able to assess what their own feelings and thoughts are, but also the physical repercussions of their body and how that's playing out with the data. I just think it's mind-blowing what you can achieve with this. And I'm also very proud that my own model of the VC method is going to be incorporated into this, because I do use that with clients all the time, because my entire aim with clients is help them get to where they want to go in the shortest possible time without any pressure whatsoever, but to give them the opportunity to be independent. We are one of the businesses in the world where we don't look to hold onto our clients, we look to help them leave us. And that means creating that independence and their recognition of their own ability to control their own lives in the way that works for them. So I think for me, I know I saw this before, but I think today my brain is absorbing the power of it in almost a much bigger way. Because when I started to do what you do technologically wise, and I do it manually with my clients, I always ask for the feedback. Ironically, you do it electronically, and I'm doing it in a more formal way, and I'm aware of that. But when I ask the feedback of just letting me know how they feel every single day, the impact of that is absolutely phenomenal. Because I literally start picking out the patterns, as you say, this is what this is about, identifying patterns, whether or not that's physical or whether or not that's emotional. But it also gives me the opportunity to literally help them save money. And ironically, what people don't necessarily appreciate, when I talk about saving money, it actually results in more income for the therapist. Now, the way that works is that a client that's really happy that they've processed their own trauma through the therapeutic way of being, but they've used your app to be able to enhance that process and make it quicker and faster without any pressure to do that. That makes them leave you quicker. But actually what it does on the back of that is make them recommend you. And word of mouth recommendations in a business, which is a lot of what people don't necessarily truly appreciate, is the greatest way to get to a point where you barely have to market your organization. I literally, for my private practice, I have a website. You will not find me advertised anywhere else, because over a period of time, and my clients getting the results that they want, they hand my number out left, right, and center. I don't ask for reviews. I have no reviews anywhere unless somebody has voluntarily gone off on their own back and they've decided randomly to put something online. So I never ask for them. In fact, as much as people may not like what I might say, I actually avoid therapists that do put lots of reviews on their websites. I don't mind what people do, but this is my way of being. So people have their own choice. But what I will say is when the client gets to where they want to go, they recommend you. And when they recommend you, you get more clients coming into you. And every single person out there knows that word of mouth recommendations are the best recommendations you can ever have. So over a period of time, you actually end up with more clients coming in when you're helping clients quicker, because the impact is so huge on them, and it turns into you just getting more and more business. So when I talk about saving the client money, it doesn't mean the therapist loses money. Ironically, the therapist gains in income because their reputation grows with that. So I really am blown away by the potential of seeing, even knowing that somebody can go to a doctor with a medical situation that has been brought up through the therapeutic process, based on the data that this creates, and being able to sit in front of a GP and show what's actually happening with them physically, as well as the emotional side of it. I just sit there and think this is life-saving. And for me, when things are life-saving with what I've been through, that's where my head will always go to. How is the impact of therapy being life-saving? Well, you've just provided a physical aspect of that. as well as an emotional one.
That's
And I'm
it.
truly blown away by it.
And I think that's really clear. I see massive potential with this. Therapists that are working with people that are specifically going through transition. I'm thinking around the justice sector and supporting people as they come out from the justice sector. Being able to understand those patterns in that transition process is going to completely change the way we go through that process. Looking at people that are going through the transition from statutory children's care and building up that resilience and that awareness so that as they leave the system, they've got those tools in place, they've got those identification markers that the app gives them before they hit a crisis is going to completely change the way support can be done. It's going to completely revolutionize the power of the therapeutic journey. And as much as the world of therapy, much as the rest of the world is almost kind of reeling from all of the media hype around what AI can do and all of the negatives, everything else, if we do not put our flag in that turf and say, it's here, we have to be able to find a way of using this that benefits all of us, or we will have those negative impacts. And this is where Siobhan and my focus around working with AI in the right way and within those ethical boundaries and the work that you guys have done, I think the presentation today just shows how phenomenal that has already been and is growing.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of a relative of mine that was, and if this app had been available and if she'd been able to use this, it would have created a completely different dynamic. She was actually admitted into hospital with delusions. Now, I knew my aunt very well. She went from being reasonably rational, I say reasonably rational because I love her to bits, but I know my aunt very well. And she went from literally that space to being literally delusional. And she was admitted into hospital and they kept on putting her into a psychiatric situation, whereas I kept on ringing the hospital and saying, I'm a qualified therapist, this is not who my aunt is, there is a physical problem with my aunt. And I'm not there, so I can't do the tests, but you absolutely don't need to put her in front of a psychiatrist, which is what they were doing. You need to look at what is happening with her physically. People do not go from where she was yesterday to today. Now, it took them about 10 days to really hear me. And it turned out she had an incredibly serious urine infection. And that's the point I'm trying to make, that if she'd have been using this app, and if she'd have gone into the hospital with this app, it would have saved her a huge amount of aggravation. It would have meant she wasn't put in front of a psychiatrist to try and resolve an emotional difficulty, because it would have shown, the data would have indicated that there was a physical issue. And because I'm very conscious of physical issues in the room, I'm conscious of what blood pressure can do and how it can create depression. I'm conscious of urine infections creating delusions. I'm aware of the menopause and what that can lead to. So I am sitting there and I'm seeing the power of this being a physical life-saving app as well as an emotional one. So when I say to you, both of you today, it's hitting home the strength and the power of what this app can do for people's lives, because it just will. Yeah. And I'm sitting and thinking, wow, no doctor, no GP could defeat an app and the evidence that's been presented to them. And also it's important because therapists can get wrapped up in thinking something's an emotional difficulty, but actually it doesn't have to be. It can be a physical one. I'm also thinking of medication. A lot of people will go to a GP and they'll get their medication. Now, depending on medication for depression, that can have astronomical responses. I've known people have serious illnesses and been given certain medication for those illnesses that can create suicidal thoughts, very serious suicidal thoughts. So really provoke the person to react to the medication. And believe me, I've known situations where a suicide has been incredibly close based on the medication. Whereas actually, and that medication got changed based on the impact of that medication. Whereas if the app was there, being able to present that to a medical professional to work with people, it's a game changer. What you're, I think you're picking up my surprise, because as much as I've been passionate about this, it's hit me more today, the power of this being a genuine life-saving app in more than one way. And I love the fact that my own model, the VC model, is going to be incorporated into this, because I use this with every single client other than a client that comes to me over the death of somebody close to them. That's the only time I do not use this method, because the process of grief has to be processed rather than fixed or changed.
I think that's it's worth pointing out one of the reasons why the therapeutic professional that is signed up and given access to this has to be qualified. There's a perfect example of why. Because if this is used in the wrong way, the wrong client, at the wrong time, that invisible scalpel is going to do an awful lot of damage. And guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This. And for anybody out there, if you have questions, if you have curiosities, get in touch with us at APA, and between ourselves and the team here, we're going to be able to answer absolutely everything that you can throw at us. This is something that we want to bring to the UK. It's something that we want to make sure is done properly, in a right way. But we also want to make sure that you can be part of that growth and that journey and grow this. And if you want to take part in that side of this project, then by all means, reach out and let us know.
Now, I just want to add here that what you two have created, and bearing in mind the generations that we're in now, my generation was not tech. I wasn't raised in that environment. It is becoming a much more technological age. There are multiple therapists that would really adapt very proficiently to this way of working, simply because they've grown up with technology. But I actually would encourage every single therapist that I have any kind of contact with, and I personally will be looking at utilizing it for my own clients, because I think it presents it in a much more professional way. Like I said, I'm old school, so everything I do is manual, but I think actually doing it this way is much better for the clients, much more accurate. And it is really important that therapists hear this actually creates the opposite of dependency. We were taught in the old school ways of not having contact with our clients between appointments to avoid dependency. This is the opposite. It gives complete control to the clients over the data that they're putting in. It enhances the recognition, and you, funny enough, it was part of your sharing, your screen sharing. You acknowledge it makes the client actually feel more supported, even though the therapist isn't with them while they're doing it. It gives them the autonomy and control, which organically, and this is the important factor, it's an organic response to their own independence, which automatically increases their confidence. And that's without even processing the data that they are giving. So when I say I love it because I already see the impact on my own clients when I do it manually with them. And I am not doing what you're doing. I'm doing a slice of what you do. What you've presented is massively bigger than what I do manually. And yet the feedback I'm getting already from my way of doing it is phenomenal. So if I think about them utilizing this app, the power of it, I almost wish I could put a big advert in Leicester Square and say, every therapist needs to do this, every client needs to be introduced to this. This is a massive opportunity to recognize physical illnesses as well as emotional patterns, because the two will often combine.
And it is that kind of challenge, isn't it, that the mental health world has had for decades, is that link between physical health and mental health. And this is what, to me, this is that bridge. This allows people to have that understanding. And APA, being the collaboration partner in the UK, is a phenomenal achievement for APA to be able to support you guys in this way is absolutely remarkable. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you guys have already done, everything that's coming. And to everyone else that's out there, please take the time to watch through this as many times as it takes, because there's a huge amount of information in this recording.
But it's been presented incredibly simplistically. Yes. So it's important to acknowledge, you know, there is a lot of information in there, but the information is very beautifully set out in a very simplistic way. Yeah. And I didn't really understand how simple it actually is, since apart from seeing it today in the way that it's been presented. So yeah. I love it.
An absolutely phenomenal job. I thank you, Erica, and
thank you very much.
And Alban, the future of this and the growth of this is something that I think it's blatantly clear, the excitement from the team here. But
he's actually lost a little bit for words. I noticed.
I am really blown away at the potential that this presents. But for mental health professionals and therapeutic professionals to be able to lead that is phenomenal. This is a tool specifically that's in the hands of therapeutic professionals that will support their evolution into that joint working, which we've all been asking for decades. I mean, this is the answer to so many of the challenges that professionals have faced. Alban, I want to kind of get your thoughts as we move forward into opening this up for people to start engaging with. And what you would like to see from therapeutic community moving forward.
Yeah, so like at the moment we've done like a pilot in Finland and in the Netherlands, and now we're doing a pilot in UK. We're gonna do a pilot in the US. We've been having amazing insights from Shivan, but you also have had insight like from book authors and association and different places, and every time we meet someone we learn so much more, and that's great. So the pilot, the aim of the pilot in the UK is to get as much feedback as possible. There is no wrong feedback. Everything is always good for us to hear. Every bug, everything that you would wish to have in the app, everything that you would like to not see in the app, like anything is good. Every feedback is good, and it helps us like improve overall. We started like with the simplest possible way of bridging the gap between the therapist and the clients with mine. But today, like what we've been focusing on the most is like the data that you're sharing between the therapist and the client is yours. Like nobody else will access it. We don't have access to it. Nobody will have access to it. So that's one thing, like very, very sure. We're never gonna use your data to do any analytics. Your therapist can see it, and you can see it as a patient or client, and that's it. The other thing is I wanted to emphasize on the fact that our focus has always been like empowering clients, identifying patterns, helping professionals to identify them as well, and then increase the bond between the therapist and the clients. This is the aim of mine, and this is what we are trying to achieve by the end of this year. That's why we're running pilots in different countries to have like a grasp of every culture, have the grasp of different communities and so on. And this is what we want to do, to launch a fully developed product. It's never fully developed, like there will always be incrementation, always be like new things, but we want something like already built and ready to sell by the beginning of 2024. That's our biggest aim.
So if you are a therapeutic professional and you want to get involved and benefit from the evolution that this gives us, get in touch. Bon, thank you for your time. I know that this has really impacted for both of us, not just on the impact for APA and what the collaboration does, but what the app itself can do for our members, for professionals and for clients. Leaving the last word to you.
Well, I would like to see this incorporated into the judicial system. I'd like to see it incorporated into the care system. I would like it incorporated into the health system. I would like it incorporated into the unemployment system, because when I'm seeing what the app can do, I'm literally seeing. And I'm thinking about being in London and job centres and how the anxiety of even going for a job interview and how that impacts on people, and how their own coaches could incorporate the knowledge of an app to work with people in the job centre. So my brain is hearing what the power is and simply thinking, oh my God, this could spiral into multiple different places. We're starting with therapists, I know that. But actually the opportunities here are phenomenal, really, really phenomenal. And it is important to acknowledge, as David said, you know, we are one body. We're not split between mind and body. And this gives an opportunity for not just emotional difficulties to be seen and processed in a pattern. It also gives massive indicators to what could be going on physically, which is actually a health issue. And I think probably that's hit me so much today, more than before. So I can't thank the two of you enough for what you've created. And I'm genuinely excited, and my head's going, I need to learn more tech, but actually you've made it very simple. So I do want to acknowledge there might be a lot of information, but you've made it. I could do that app. And if I can do that app with my head, anybody could. So genuinely speaking, can't thank you enough for your time today, what you shared with us, where this is going to go, and the collaboration between us. I really want to sell it across. I want to sell it across the world, but that's me. That's who I am. You know, and I'm well aware of the potential of this. We need to get it out. More people need to see this. And the more that see it, the more we'll understand the potential. So thank you so much. And I do want to add, because I like this part of acknowledging anything. You have created this app out of your hearts and souls. And I know that the most successful things in life are created from a heart and soul. You haven't done this from a monetary perspective. If anything, you've done the opposite. And I always acknowledge this, because that's the kind of people that APA involves themselves in. We want people that genuinely care about the impact on other people over the tools that they're providing. And if I'm honest, if you weren't those kind of people, we wouldn't be sitting in this room together, because APA is about collaborating with like-minded that care about other people. And I want to acknowledge that in the two of you, because it's important to acknowledge that. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's great to know you and be part of this. And I'm very proud and very excited. And I hope that anybody that wants to know any information, you can contact us directly on 0208 556 4984. That's our telephone number. You can also contact us via info at ayannay.co.uk. If you need to speak to Alban or Erica directly, we will happily point you in their direction. And once this video and presentation goes live, all the connecting details will be attached to it. So anybody that's interested in finding out more can categorically get in touch with anybody. So thank you so much for your time today, you two. You've really blown me away with this today. You really have.
Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
having us.
From
Thanks.
me, and I can't say it any better than that, so I'm not going to. Everybody out there, as Von says, if this is something you want more information on, you want to get involved with, we can't recommend it highly enough. We really can't. So get in touch, and we will see you in another conversation very, very soon.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Take care.
Bye for now.